You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This podcast episode is brought to you by Lonsdale Publishing. Is your program seeking ways to assess your students' college readiness? Does your program need a tool to document the effectiveness of your program? Lonsdale Publishing is excited to offer the Strategic Learning Assessment, a 20-minute online assessment that provides recommendations and strategies to improve academic performance across 11 learning areas: communication, critical thinking, effective learning strategies, focus and concentration, growth mindset, persistence, seeking help, sense of belonging, stress management, test preparation, and time management. For as little as $3 per student, the Strategic Learning Assessment identifies strengths and areas for growth, along with tailored recommendations for each learning area. Want a complimentary sample account for yourself and 5 students? Contact Lonsdale Publishing at 727-389-8026. Again, that number is 727-389-8026. Or visit our website for more information at www.longsdale.com. That website again is www.longsdale.com. Lonsdale Publishing, your partner in student success. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in Trio software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Trio. This is Season 7, Episode 14. I am your host, Juan Rivas. Before we begin, some community announcements. Trio Nation, be sure to call your congressional representatives to defend the Trio programs. The Trump administration is seeking to eliminate the Trio programs in their most recent proposed budget. Take action now by spreading the word and contacting your congressional representatives. Let's defend Trio. In today's episode, we have Xavier Travon Lewis, Trio Upward Bound alum of Eastern New Mexico University, graduate of New Mexico State University, and current recruiter of Eastern New Mexico University. Xavier is on the podcast to share his own life experience, educational journey with Trio Upward Bound at Eastern New Mexico University, and becoming a recruiter at Eastern New Mexico University. Coming up in just a bit, Xavier Travon Lewis. A heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario O'Reilly, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Jeff Napudi, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Eric Lamaster, Jeff Calden, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, TrioJoblist.com, Nosotros Education Center, Lonsdale Publishing, Student Access, and thetriostore.com, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for trio graduation stoles. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. If you own a business that serves the Trio community and want to sponsor the podcast, we have different sponsorship packages available. Contact us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast business PayPal account. Our business handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. Your support helps lift Trio voices. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Xavier Travon Lewis, recruiter of Eastern New Mexico University, graduate of New Mexico State University, and alum of the Trio Upward Bound program. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is an alum of the Trio Upward Bound program at Eastern New Mexico University. He is also a graduate of New Mexico State University and currently works for Eastern New Mexico University as a recruiter. When he is not busy with work, my guest enjoys gaming, drawing, and Dungeons & Dragons. Welcome to the podcast, Xavier Travon Lewis.
Hello. Very, very honored to be here. I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, so thank you for having me.
No, Xavier, we are very fortunate to have you because we have been, right? We've been talking about getting you on the podcast. I think it was last fall, and we were trying to get the schedules to get aligned, but finally we made it happen. You're here.
Yes, sir.
How have you been? How are things going for you?
Things are going pretty good. I'm really happy with my current position at my job.
I see that you're enjoying it. Yeah.
A lot of my life stuff's just going pretty well, so I'm pretty content with how things are working out. I cannot complain. I could, but I won't.
How are things in New Mexico?
It is same old New Mexico. It's hot and dry. It's very hot right now. I think we hit 104 the other day. So it's New Mexico. Whenever we can get up or south New Mexico or even up north, we try our best to, because it's a little bit cooler up there.
Now, geographically speaking, you're in the high plains, and I remember living in the high plains. It's like there's a different type of heat there. It's like dry with no air. Like even when there's air, it cooks you.
Stale. It feels like being in an oven. It's bad. But when the wind blows, like it's like 94 degrees, and the wind blows like that perfect little breeze, then that's when we're in the sweet spot for summer anyway.
Absolutely true. For complete transparency for our audience, Xavier was one of my students when I worked for Eastern New Mexico University a long time ago for the Upward Bound program. When you first started in Upward Bound, Xavier, I knew you were a pretty cool guy. You were already absolute pretty cool guy. But then when you and I started talking, we found we had a lot of things in common. And man, you immediately became one of my most favorite people to talk to.
It's same here. Whenever we started sitting down and talking about comics and things like that, it just opened up a whole new world for me. So that was one of those turning moments in my life where I just became a full-blown nerd at that point. So you've opened up a lot of doors for me.
Well, I think it was really cool that you and I got to sit down and talk, just nerd out on Marvel, DC, all of the things on comic books. And then you introduced me to the world of anime and the things that I didn't know about. So it was just like a nerd discussion that was just awesome to have with you. And now to see you grown up, graduated, and doing adult stuff that, I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of all the things that you've done.
I appreciate that. It's been a wild ride. I think back to whenever we first started out. It feels like everyone says it feels like it was yesterday, but it really does. It really does. So it's really interesting to kind of catch up and see where we are now, essentially.
Absolutely. I know we'll have more time to talk about your trio journey on the pod, but I like to start off questions with our guests about
kind of some reflection questions. What has 2024 taught you? What lessons have you learned from that year?
2024 was one of those turning points in my life. I had to learn a lot of hard lessons, but my most favorite thing that I've learned is progress is progress.
Progress is
No,
progress.
no matter how little of a step or how huge of a leap you take, progress is progress, and you should be proud of yourself.
That's
That's
awesome, man.
the biggest thing I've learned.
That's awesome. What about goals for 2025? Is 2025 shaping up to be something like you're doing something constantly, or you're really looking forward to one thing that you're working toward?
So for 2025, right now, just personal goals of mine. I want to travel a bit more, of course. I'd like to do some camping and that cool stuff, but I'd like to read more books, honestly. I've been really lacking on my reading. I used to love reading. I'm not getting into anything too crazy. I just like my big fantasy stories. So
Yeah,
I just want to read more of those, essentially.
right on. Now I usually ask the guest, and I know it's not written in here, and it's blank, and that's also on me. But when we talk about your interests, like comic books and Dungeons and Dragons and drawing, how did those evolve for you? How did you get in? How did you develop an interest? Was it something natural, or was it something that you felt like evolved over time?
For the most part, a lot of the comics and like superheroes was kind of natural. My brother loves Spider-Man, so
Mm.
obviously I grew up in the Spider-Man household. With anime, I grew up in that sweet spot where Toonami was really kicking.
Oh, that's so true.
So
Yeah.
waking up in the middle of the night and Toonami's on, you get Bleach, you get Naruto, you get Dragon Ball. So
Yeah.
it was a really formative time for that stuff. So that all kind of came naturally. And as I grew up, things just became more accessible.
Uh-huh.
I got my own money, I found out how to find things and actually buy them. So yeah, it just blew up from there. So
Right on. Right on. So let's rewind the clocks a bit. Can you talk about your upbringing? What was that like for you?
upbringing fairly modest. Being a kid, I was in a split household. My parents were never together, and they lived a town apart, about an hour.
Hmm.
So that was a little bit weird for me growing up, trying to figure out those situations, bouncing back and forth between parents. But I mean, they both ultimately worked extremely hard to get me to where I am. So I I wouldn't change anything about my childhood. We had some struggles, but nothing we couldn't push through.
Yeah. How would your family describe you?
If there's one thing they can both agree on, I am the odd one. Like, it's not. I don't want to say it as like an insult or
Yeah, yeah,
anything,
yeah.
but like, I was a bit different from my siblings. They all supported me through my odd little hobbies and things like that, but I was definitely the one trying new things and getting into like the weird, well, I guess weird, but like anime and gaming and things like that. That was me.
And I remember distinctly, and not to put the spotlight on me at all, because I hate that, but uh, 20, 30 years ago, anime was not very popular. Like it was popular among the folks that really got into it. I want to say the
Mhm.
nerd circles were more into it. Would you say you were the odd one out because you didn't follow specific interests, or is it because your interests were just so out of the norm?
Yeah, I mean, my brother, my mom was just telling me about this. My brother was more of the outside, playing sports. He loved his pressed jeans. He had nice
Mm.
shirts. He had Jordans.
Hmm.
I liked Spider-Man light up shoes from Walmart. I liked
Uh-huh.
hanging out in the house, playing Xbox, playing Halo, things like that. I mean, I did go outside, of course. I got my son, but if it was time to play some games, I was playing some games.
All right. Yeah.
So I like
Can
the
you
things that the other kids didn't like.
absolutely? And we're gonna jump into that a little bit. So, can you talk a little bit about your early educational experience? What was that like for you?
So early education was mostly done in Texas.
Mm.
So it was a little bit of a different culture there. I loved reading. I had very good grades, and my teachers were fantastic. Our school provided a lot of cool opportunities for us. One of my favorite ones was a little science bus that would pull up once a month,
Oh.
and our teacher would walk us through there. and we do pretty much like hands-on experiments with it. So it was a very, very cool thing to be able to experience as a little kid and into technically junior high. We start junior high in 6th grade in Texas. But when I got to 7th grade, also middle school, came over to New Mexico. I've been kind of here since, but it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing on the planet. I don't hate it here. But there was definitely a culture shift for sure. It just, I don't like to talk trash about our education program or things like that, but we need a little extra help here and there.
Oh, absolutely. I think the latest rankings for state education, right? New Mexico typically ranks in the lower of the 20s or the lower of the 40s, and that's just because the investment in education is just not there, and a lot of people have been saying like we need to invest in education.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. Nosotros Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. Nosotros Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotrosedu.org.
And now, back to the podcast.
Did you have any particular favorite subject that you really were just drawn to?
Early on, English. I loved reading books and things like that. Wasn't too huge on writing. Never the best writer, but I did thoroughly enjoy reading new books, listening to new stories and things like that. As I got older, though, when I moved to New Mexico, history kind of became my thing. I love any kind of history. The older, the better for me personally. But it all interests me essentially.
If there was any particular time period that you were like really wanted to study, what would it be?
Ooh, that one's hard. Because of course there's Renaissance. The Renaissance was just a crazy time for everybody. So
yeah,
that's one of the ones I'd like to take a deep dive into, some of the more niche things that may have gone down there. It might have all just been boring. I don't know. But if there was something small, insignificant, I want to know about it.
Oh, yeah. When did college conversations start happening for you? Were parents expecting you to go to college? Was there an expectations for you to go beyond high school?
There was definitely the expectation of going to college, but not in the way of fill out these applications. We're checking your grades and things like that. It's more like, hey, you're going to college, right? Cool. But my actual serious conversations about college, they started off with you and our director at the time in 9th grade for Upward Bound. Sounds real cheesy, but you guys really started me off on that college path.
Well, I'm glad. I think those conversations are super important when you discover them, and we'll get to that here in just a bit about when and where those conversations happen. But it's also cool that your family was like, yeah, you're going to go to college, right? Like that's going to be your next step.
Yeah, it was definitely it's kind of weird figuring it out, but we did
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Now, I got to ask, was college something your family wanted you to do, or was it something that you looked forward to doing?
um, I think it was more I look forward to doing. Like, sure, they had the conversations because that's what you're supposed to tell your kids out of high school. But no one in my family has really gone to a 4 year college at that point. I
Uh-huh.
think my sister had gone to like cosmetology, which is still great.
Yeah.
Um, but it was like a really huge leap for me because I didn't really have a whole lot of guidance outside of like school and Upward Bound. I was just kind of going with the punches as I went because I kind of stumbled into the way of college, I guess. But they were all pretty hands. I don't want to say hands off with it, but they cheered me on from a distance essentially. Um, they're just like, hey, you can do it. I promise you, it's gonna be all right. I'm just trying to figure all this stuff out.
Okay. Can you talk about your high school experience? What were some highlights?
High school, gonna be real with you, not my favorite time.
Really? Not your favorite
I,
time?
a lot of things were changing. I felt like the curriculum was against us.
Ah,
We always kept getting these new tests as soon as we got into a certain grade. It felt like it was never ending.
oh,
A lot of my teachers bounced out on us. Not a whole lot of support going on unless it was from a few select teachers and Upward Bound.
yeah,
That was kind of our only support. So I just kind of coasted through high school. I was a very average student. Nothing bad, nothing too spectacular. But highlights, anytime I think of highlights from high school, gonna be the people, of course. If I think of high school in a positive light, it's gonna be the friends I made along the way, and and just the greatest group of people a guy could ever ask for. I've met some lifelong friends I'm still friends with to this day. We hang out on a daily basis, so I do it all again if I can meet them again.
absolutely. How did you learn about the Trio Upward Bound program at Eastern New Mexico University? How did that happen?
So my best friend at the time, still my best friend, told me me and our group of friends about it. It was really interesting the way he brought it up. We didn't know fully what it was. They were just like, it's an after school program,
Uh-huh.
money. And we're just like, all right. So whenever we went into, the library where you guys were, we signed up and everything. We're just like, we gotta do what on a Saturday? So I'm glad we stuck with it and everything because it ended up being, a very
Yeah.
fantastic program. We had a lot of good times.
Well, I'm very happy that you joined. I think um and you remember Roderick.
Of
Uh
course, yes, sir.
Roderick and I were still figuring things out. I remember like we were just trying to figure out like how are we going to make this program entertaining but also
Uh-huh.
educational, and we were just going through all the things of like what are we going to do. But yeah, we were so glad to have you. Um, in terms of, so we're gonna like gloss over high school a little bit because as you said, it's not your most favorite time. However, we're gonna like look at Upward Bound itself.
Hmm.
Um, what were some of your most favorite memories with the Trio Upward Bound program?
Most of my best times were during the summer. Of course, art talks about Spider-Man.
Oh,
I
always
was
fun.
a Spider-Man fan, and you turned me into like a Spider-Man fanatic. Like we were, we were every day at lunch, just chopping it up about things we've read, things we've seen, things that are coming up,
Yep,
and
yep, yep.
just everything. So that was probably one of my most consistent favorite times. But the biggest thing that I remember from Upper Bound was the reveal of our big trip. Man, that was a roller coaster of emotions. Um, it was like, we're going here. All right, that's cool. Yeah, can't wait. Then we're going here. the whole classroom just erupted in so but it meant a lot to all of us that y'all fought so hard to bring us the best experience possible, because I know that trip was not easy to approve.
Like now that you're on this professional end, right? Like you're learning about all the things that these programs have to do and what they need to do to prepare. Man, I tell you that oh gosh, just the links that we had to get through just to get it approved. But yes, you absolutely know.
Yep. The amount of documentation I do at my job just for the small things that we do. Yeah, no. No, thank you. So yeah, we really appreciate it though. We still talk about it to this day, honestly.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I think that's the whole point of these True Upward Bound programs, is to expose you to places you may not be at or might not get the chance to be at, and for you to still talk about it. I think that speaks volumes about the experience that Upward Bound brings. How did Upward Bound prepare you for college?
I didn't if I didn't learn it with my experience in college, it was all Upward Bound. From everything from financial aid to applying for scholarships, for FAFSA, everything like that was all Upward Bound. I think one thing I want to give my Japanese teacher a shout out here, because we did an assignment where we were picking schools that we wanted to go. And I picked a non-accredited $34,000 a semester tuition school, and she was like, "Hey, you might be want to rethink that one." And she fought with me until I changed my mind. So I do want to give her a shout out on that. But all my experience in prep came from Upward Bound.
Wow. It amazes me still, like when folks talk about prepping for college. I had a guest not too long ago say that they were first generation, and when I asked them, like, "Hey, what colleges did you have in mind? Like, did you get anything ready?" And they're like, "No, I had zero preparedness."
Like as my job now, I try to get that started beforehand. I try to go and tell them, "Hey, this is how it's gonna be. Get early so you don't get got." It's gonna be tough, but we gotta get into that early so you can have your best chances of success.
Absolutely.
And I didn't hear that until later on, and I stumbled my way through it, like I said, but we're here now.
Absolutely. So, and not to veer too much off from the script, but it sounds like you've learned a lot from your own college experience, getting prepared and all of that, and you're transferring into your job.
Yeah, it's every time I talk to a classroom full of students, I'm just like, "Hey, this happened to me. Do not let it happen to you. Do not be caught off guard by this and this. This is how it's going to happen unless things change. But for right now, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Please do not get caught up."
If you don't mind me asking, do you get students that follow up with you personally? Like they'll email you individually and ask questions?
Yeah, all my students have my email. Whenever they apply, they get assigned to me. So they get my phone number and my email, and they're able to contact me at any time. Some of them do, some of them don't, but if I can tell the ones that have like genuine questions, they'll hit me up, phone call. If I don't answer, they'll email me and I'll shoot them back as soon as I can. But it's a really good feeling whenever you do have those students that come through and ask those questions. Then the ones that get on campus and then see you there, and they're just like, "Hey, weren't you?" Like, "Hey, good to see you. I'm glad you're finally here, guy."
That's very cool. That's very cool. In what ways did Trio Upward Bound support you, or find ways to help you get ready for college?
Upward Bound supported us. I say us as me and my friends, through with almost everything school related. If we needed extra time for homework, we were provided that. If we needed someone to give us a little bit tutoring for homework and things like that, we were provided. You guys provided us lunch every Wednesday. I
remember the lunch,
heavy.
The lunch and learns.
Those came in clutch heavy, but we also learned a lot of cool stuff during those as well.
Right.
So it was time outside of Upward Bound where like our, Saturday meetings and things like that, where we also learned a bunch of stuff as well. FAFSA workshops, deadlines, tutoring, college applications, visiting colleges, anything we needed, it felt like you guys were there for us. And that very important to us and how we grew up and graduated and things like that.
Absolutely. I remember the college trips that we took you with you all, whether it was a local college, like planning with just touring Eastern, or it was a Texas college, or when we went out of town on those big trips to visit those other colleges. I think the idea was always, and Roderick and I always talked about it, was like getting you all used to the idea of setting foot on campus, like just taking away the fear factor there. You belong there, and that's your space too.
Absolutely. I think that really did help whenever I actually did get on campus, because even then I first day in, walked up to buildings I've been seeing since 9th grade. It still took my breath away. It was just like, okay, you've been here.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. And even
That's
when
amazing.
I transferred, it was the same thing, but I had a little more experience. But those college visits really helped out for sure.
Wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about your final year in high school. As you approached your senior year, did you know what colleges you wanted to attend? Like, and I'm going to ask you another question that I asked previous guests. Is like, did you have a list of colleges?
Well, if I'm gonna be absolutely real with you, I was punching a little bit above my weight with like my dream colleges, because we went to Northeastern University. I was like, this is where I'm going to college, full stop. They can't deny me. So I didn't even get past the application. So Eastern was always there for us. I also had WT as one of my options as well. And they needed updated shot records, which I didn't have. And then they needed everything turned over from, New Mexico to Texas. And then, yep, they denied me. So I was just like, all right.
Oh, man.
I didn't want to go there anyway. My buddy graduated there. It's a fantastic school, but no.
It sounds like to me like there was this map of colleges you wanted to attend, and more than likely was like, here's the one I really want. These others, I can take it or leave it, and it'll be fine. But you're interestingly enough, your story kind of took a twist, because you started off at Eastern and then ended up somewhere else.
Yeah. So, well, what happened was I started with graphic design. I don't want to get too far ahead or anything.
Oh yeah, no. But give us the short version, and then we'll do a deep dive in a bit.
Started graphic design, ultimately didn't like it and wanted to switch to something new. I was at a point where I was just like, I need something new. So I looked around, I transferred, and then from there on, it was just like, oof, I'm glad I took that step, because I was kind of miserable. I was bad at graphic design.
I feel like the graphic design programs, and this is not to knock any graphic design programs, I'm not knocking you all. They sell themselves or market themselves as like, you're going to be learning how to create graphic, versus it's really more of a marketing type of program. Like, you're learning marketing.
It's a lot of that, and I didn't understand a lot of that. We had fantastic teachers. All of our professors were very experienced. One of our professors worked for Coca-Cola for a bit.
Whoa!
So he had the big boy credentials. So they tried their best, but it just would not click for me. I could not put a logo together, or space letters out to where it made like cohesive sense. It just never connected for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad the later school would work out, and we're going to jump into it here just a bit. But for you, was it hard to narrow down some of these classes or some of the college or institutions, or was it kind of like they just kind of selected themselves out?
Wasn't very hard. We visited quite a bit of schools. I liked a lot of the schools we visited, but as I started to look into numbers and things like that, I had a couple real options. So they kind of whittled themselves down because I was like, oh, my GPA is this. It costs this much. I'm getting this much. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Once numbers came in, it all figured itself out.
but what I'm really liking about how you approach the college application is you were your own hype man. Like you were like, this is what we can do. This is not what we can do.
Yep.
And I think for some of us, I'll share. I think I've shared with you. Eastern was the only school I applied to because that was the only school I thought that would take me. So no other, I did not apply to anybody. I was like, UNM is going to reject me. I did a preemptive strike. I said, UNM is going to reject me. I'm not even going to try. NMSU is going to reject me. I'm not even going to try. Just Eastern. Let's see what happens.
And my thing is, I completely forgot about like the other New Mexico schools, if I'm gonna be real with you, because we visited UNM.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this place is great. And then after we started visiting like the bigger places, it just kind of out of my brain.
Oh yeah.
So
out of sight, out of mind.
And then I was just like, well, I guess if I'm gonna stay in state, I'll just go to Eastern. It's close to home, local, real nice. Been there before.
So talking about your final high school year, what did graduating from high school mean to you and to your family?
To my family, it meant a lot to them. They were all, of course, very proud of me. They celebrated my successes and things like that. For me, I was happy for myself and proud of me and my friends because, you know, when you're that young, you do dumb things and you don't think some people are gonna, come through. But at the end, we were all walking across that stage. So I was just proud of us for sticking it out because it was tough.
I hear you. Yeah.
But after I went across the stage, man, it was like a huge weight just lifted off of my shoulders.
That's awesome.
It felt like, as I said earlier, it felt like a new chapter just like immediately opened up. You can feel the shifting in the wind a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, on to a new thing.
Yeah. Wow.
It's about to get crazy.
So here's where we jump in, right? Because you decided you're going to start off at Eastern New Mexico University. That's where you're going to be starting off. You shared a little bit about you did graphic design for a bit. And then you decided to switch to somewhere else. Can you tell us about that story? Like what happened? What was the thought process? Your evolution through that? Yeah, talk to us about that.
So freshman year, we're all just trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
We're getting into our basic classes, doing our drawing ones and this and that. It felt pretty good then. And then we got into like the second semester and things started to get a little more intricate with the way we were, getting into graphic design as a program. And by the time I finished that first year, I was just like, I can stick it through. As most things, I kind of just try to, push through it. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Second year came around. Some of my friends moved away. They went to other schools. I got through the first semester and I sat down in the library and I was just like, I can't keep doing this. I'm not happy. I'm not good at it. And this was, I didn't want to like bash myself or anything, but I know the facts. I know me. So I was just like, I need a change of pace immediately. I don't know what it's going to be, but I need a change of pace. And I actually applied to 2 schools. And I applied to NMSU and CSU. So
Colorado State.
Yeah.
I remember.
Punching a little bit above my weight.
No, not at all. I don't think CSU would have been super fortunate to have you.
Yeah.
But I do remember it was years ago. You came up to visit for a bit.
Yeah. Me and my buddy, we came up for spring break. I think it was actually my it was spring break my sophomore year. And we drove all the way up. It was our first trip by ourselves, of course, and then came to CSU because I was like, this campus is great. I'm gonna be here maybe one day. So, we've already visited. It's gonna be super cool. But the way I waited to myself, I was like, all right, so if CSU accepts me, we're going full into like pre-vet, because that was another thing I kind of wanted to do other than art.
Yeah.
And I was like, if NMSU accepts me, we'll go full into animation, because that's another thing I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
CSU were just like, hey, big dog. Yeah.
Oh no.
You don't really got those credentials, my man. And I was like, all right. I hear you barking, big dog.
Oh,
But
man.
NMSU, they accepted me.
Oh, good.
I started getting things moving and worked over, and NMU was great about seeing me off to that next step. I called up my advisor, who was one of my professors, and he was just like, oh yeah, no, whenever you get into it, send me some stuff. And that was that.
Wow.
It was very nice, and very, it isn't a competition between, the schools. We're all here to help each other. They try to see their students succeed.
And I think there's like this misconception among students about, like, they get shy about asking for transferring or going to a different school because they feel like they're betraying the school that admitted them, right? There's like this sense of like, oh, I'm asking to leave the people that said, hey, you could make it here.
And as a recruiter for EMU, I do not keep under wraps that I went to NMSU. I tell them straight up, hey, I didn't like, the major I had, and sadly EMU didn't have the program I wanted to be in, so I would transfer over to NMSU. That is always an option you can do if you need that change of pace. They were very great with the transfer and everything. I just try to keep it as open and real with them as possible, because you don't have to stick to one place. You can you kind of want to try to stick to,
right,
but don't want to be bouncing around all too much. But
right. Xavier, if you don't mind me asking, and this is a little bit off the script, but as a first-generation college student, was it hard to ask for that transfer, or was it hard to kind of get guidance on how to transfer?
I got zero guidance. I just kind of applied.
You were like, let's see what happens.
I was talking to my friends that transferred there, and I was like, so what do I do? And they're like, apply, have transcripts sent over. And I was like, just like that, huh? And they're like, pretty much. You don't really have to have any awkward conversations with anyone. Like I said, my advisor was super cool about it. He was rooting me on from the very beginning. So no, I had no guidance, but it was fairly easy.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
Very cool. No, very cool. And I'll share with you very quickly, like in my position, students transfer out and they decide to go somewhere else. And yeah, you're absolutely right that institutions, we're not in direct competitions with each other. We're there to support the student and their learning and their growth. So the student ended up going to CU Boulder. I didn't like to see that, but I was like, I'm going to encourage you, and you're awesome, and you're going to do amazing things over there. Sad that we're losing you, but you're going to do great things.
Make sure whenever you get big and famous, don't forget us. Yeah, started here. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's just like you always have to give your flowers to your first, to your home. Essentially, you gotta
absolutely
not forget where you came from.
Absolutely agreed. So let's talk about your college experience then at New Mexico State University, because that's where now the new home base was. What was that like for you, and what did you enjoy?
College experience, it was a huge change. I'm not gonna lie. Moving from EMU to NMSU, bigger
it's a
campus.
bigger college, right?
Yeah, much bigger.
You went from a Division II school to a Division I.
Yep, and it was strange because when I first moved, I did it all on my own. First time living by myself and everything. My parents were just like, "Here's some gas money. Go tell all your homies bye. We'll miss you, but bon voyage." So I went around, said bye to all my homies, cried a little bit. Got I left Clovis at I think it was like 7 p.m. because I was talking to all my friends. I didn't get to Las Cruces till almost 11. And it gets dark.
5-hour drive, isn't it?
It gets dark in the fall too. So first time driving down, I was not.
It's dark.
So, but actually being on campus and everything, it felt real homey. A lot of people were there, or a lot of people that I met there, they were able to, help me out, help me, lock in on some of those things that I felt uncomfortable with, doing, like the clubs and things like that. After a while, it just kind of started feeling like home. I wasn't one of those crazy rowdy kids. My college experience was relatively boring. If you'd like to hear about the time I played D&D that 6 different times, I could absolutely go into that. But most of it was just lots of coursework. When I got into animating, we would stay in our animation lab for till midnight most times. Sometimes we would stay overnight. Not supposed to do that, but we were all on that grind to get all of our stuff done.
Yeah,
you can bang out a paper, but when you're animating, you gotta be intentional with what you're doing.
Absolutely. So at Eastern Graphic Design, transferred over to New Mexico State, you did animation, like the thing that you were really looking for. How did you like the program?
I love the animation program. We had a lot of, like, I keep saying a lot of fantastic teachers, but every teacher I came across, they were top notch in their fields. One of my teachers, his dad is like a animation legend. One of my teachers worked for Rooster Teeth. Another one did a lot of work for a lot of different game companies for 3D modeling. So we had a lot of fantastic animation teachers there. They were all super cool too. They were younger folk, but it was really interesting getting into it because I've always wanted to do something with animation, but just learning the aspects of it, because there's more than just drawing. It's, you got to do your storyboarding, and then you got to do, your character design and all this and that. You got to do the pre-production, post-production. Yeah, we learned all those big words. It was, and we had to do all of it. No matter, what program we were in, if we were in 2D, 3D, or filmmaking, we had to do all of it. So,
wow,
very rounded.
And in that experience, in being in that program, did you make a lot of connections or formed a lot of networks with your peers?
Really. I have friends and everything that, sometimes I talk with, but most of my college friends, we kind of drifted apart a little bit. We still chat every now and again. But a lot of my, like, the networks that we should have made, I lacked on that part for sure, because I'm an awkward kid. I was trying to figure things out, and by the time I kind of started figuring out, I walked across the stage. So.
Hey, I mean, even doing the thing without that big of a network, sometimes you just need a small community to help you along. That's all you really need. Did you have a certain career in mind as you went through NMSU?
I started off wanting to be a storyboard artist. I love doing storyboards. It's loose. You can convey, what you want it to look like, and then the other artists will come in and kind of fill in the blanks. But then as I got into it more and I learned a little bit more about the industry and everything, because that was a thing we talked about pretty frequently. I kind of figured I don't want to work for a big company. I thought I'd work anywhere and with anyone. I've narrowed that down. I was just like, I don't want to work for a big company. They are pretty bad sometimes. They take advantage of their artists and things like that. So I was like, not everyone will do that, but if I can shoot for like an indie game company or something like that, or an indie film, I'd love to work on something like that, because it feels a little bit more personal when you're, bringing, a couple people's vision to life, other than like, corporate entity.
Oh, absolutely. I hear the differences between how artists get treated, like at Disney, versus an indie film artist who is respected and established, and they get, even if they get their start, they're still like, yeah, it was very fun to work with. Whereas Disney, you have a little bit more of a grueling schedule.
Yeah, it's they definitely want the best of the best, and they want everyone to be on top of everything at all times. Um, our teachers, they even said, "Hey, before you accept a contract, send it to me, please." That's one thing they wanted us to do if we were ever to work for a company, because
Yeah.
they know what to look for in those contracts that are just like, either have them omit that or don't take this job.
Yeah. Oh, good, good. So it sounds like you also had a lot of support with your
Yes.
instructors as they were looking out for you and your burgeoning career.
Mhm.
Was there a something in the college environment that you enjoyed the most while at MSU? What did you enjoy the most
Um,
there?
Even both at ENMU and NMSU, it's the people for sure. I love everyone coming from different backgrounds and cultures. It just made it feel like it was a very welcoming atmosphere that everyone's able to exist in this space. You know,
Right, right.
no matter how different you think you are, there are friends or clubs or someone you will find your people eventually.
Hmm.
It's very welcoming. So a lot of the people for sure. That's
So I'm going to ask you this next question that more covers about like what were some of your challenges and successes while in college?
whoo.
We got time, right?
Let's start off with the big one. So personal challenges, I was in there 2020, 2021, 2022. Those were the dark times.
That's what people call them, the dark times.
Spring break showed up, the 2020. We were like, hey, we're ready to go back to school. They're like, hey, stay in your house. Don't go outside. Here's a couple dollars. Don't go outside. You're
Yeah,
on spring break still. It's all right.
yeah.
And then,
Wait,
the
wait,
news
wait,
started
wait. So
coming
wait,
out.
NMSU said y'all are still on spring break. Don't come back to campus.
They either like don't come back to campus, or if you're on campus, stay in your dorms.
Wow.
And I lived on an apartment on campus, so
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, we need to figure this out before people start," And it was pretty scary at the time, but like that extended spring break, I'm not gonna lie, I was living my best life. I didn't have to work. My job was they were sending us money for hours that we missed. The university sent us money, of course,
Uh-huh.
and so we were just living. Played a lot of Animal Crossing, but after things start to get back into the swing of things, that's when it started to get real difficult because you had to adjust from going in class, enter all your in-person classes and things like that, to sitting in my room talking to a camera, that sort
Wow.
of thing. So it was
Yeah.
a huge shift. You can tell a lot of people started to lose kind of like the drive for it, because when you're around other people working,
Mm-hmm.
it encourages you to work a little bit harder as well.
Yeah.
But when you're by yourself, it just kind of takes the magic out of it a little bit. But other than that, one of my biggest struggles, for me, let's see, it was my ADHD, which I recently figured out I have.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I I thought the whole time I was just kind of like lazy, which I did have my fair share of laziness. This isn't an excuse to why all the things went wrong, but it does kind of you know make sense of what happened during it, because I'd really be hyped to work on stuff. I'd really get into it. I'm making my own projects, and then
Yeah.
out of nowhere, it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh,
I don't like this.
yeah.
It's just like, but you were ready to sell your soul for it a minute ago. What happened? And so I didn't unfortunately learn, get into the process of this, because I was I thought I was just lazy.
Hmm.
So I recently got into therapy and things like that, got diagnosed, got medication, and if I would have done that a couple of years, we'd be having a completely different conversation right now.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, that must have been like an eye-opening moment to learn that it was ADHD playing a huge factor into motivation and various other areas of your
Mhm.
life.
Yeah, whenever we started first talking about it, my counselor was just like, "So did you do this?" And I was like, "I did." You stalking me? How do you know that? And like, oh, so you're like this and this and this. So whenever you start a project, it kind of fall off because of this. And I'm just like, yeah, no, that adds up. And then she was like, I think you may have a little,
Yeah.
ADHD going on, a little bit of self-sabotaging, habits and things like that. That the ADHD was definitely not helping. So if I'd have figured that out a little bit earlier, things would have been probably a lot different. But at the same time, can't go back and change it. So even if I could, I probably wouldn't.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now that you talked about your some of your challenges, your successes, give us some highlights of like what you felt went well for you.
Other than graduating, of course, my transfer to NMSU, like I said, that was a huge leap for me.
Yeah.
I come from two small towns, one smaller than the other. I come from two small towns, moving pretty much almost not across the state, but like pretty close to it, halfway.
You're going all the way south of New Mexico.
Yeah. So that was huge. Big city. Never lived in a big city, and I think Las Cruces is a massive city. And people are like, you can get across Las Cruces in an hour. And I'm just like, you can get across my hometown in 5 minutes. So
that's true, though. That's true.
Things are a little bit different here.
Yes.
But that was probably like my biggest success, is just like, being able to take that huge change and just sticking with it, essentially. It was a huge turning point in my life. And everything I learned after that was just, the cherry on the top.
Well, Xavier, you got to give yourself kudos, because not a lot of folks, like there's a good percentage of folks that end up staying at their hometown, either go to where Clovis is Clovis Community College, or they go to Eastern New Mexico University, like some folks like me. But there's folks like you where you branched out. You decided, I'm going to take a leap. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go somewhere else. And that absolutely deserves its own praise.
Yeah, I absolutely, whenever I'm talking about it, I'm just like, yeah, it was just something I did, but there was a lot of struggle during it, but just being able to push through. I had a good support system. I had people I hit you up one time, and I had a great,
always welcomed your calls, man. Always did.
Yeah. So I knew I had a great support system. So I knew who I could call for help. So, I didn't do it alone, but, when I was out there, it felt a little bit foreign.
You did the majority of the work, though. You did all the work to get up there. You had to take the chance and really believe in yourself to do that. So kudos, man. That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
So I got to know, what did that moment feel like for you when you graduated from New Mexico State University? What did that moment mean for you, and what did it mean for your family?
Graduation was electric. It was like, it felt like it was an out of body experience until they called my name a little bit. I went across the stage. I grabbed the paper, shook a hand, posed for a picture, and then walked off the stage. And it felt like everything just like connected right back to me. And I kind of came to earth a little bit. And I was just like, I just did that. Like, we're here. I went and sat down, and I just sat in silence for the rest of the ceremony. But it meant the world to me. I knew this wasn't just my achievement. My parents, my friends, my mentors, of course, everyone who got me to that point. I wanted to celebrate all of us, because it wasn't just me. It was the whole gang. So,
but it really was the work that you put in, right? Like, yes, your community is there cheering you on. We're very proud of all the work that you've done, but this is truly an uplifting you moment, because absolutely you put the work in.
Yeah, but I cannot go, and I can't take all of it. I'll take 95% of it. But,
there you go. Take that.
But no, I'll tell you, there's of course times times get rough, but
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
whenever you have those people you can just hit up and just be like, hey, things are not going good.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Absolutely. Well, again, congrats on the graduation. It's already been a couple years, but you've made it and you did it, and with a huge move as well. Which, man, that speaks to your persistence and your ability to adapt, and just all the great things that you continue to do, Xavier.
Thank you.
Did you have an idea of what your life would look like after college graduation? Like now you're sitting in the ceremony. In that moment, are you thinking, what's next?
I was already kind of putting up like my whole 10-step plan.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
all right, boom, we just graduated.
Yeah.
We're gonna go home for a little bit, save some money,
Mhm.
and then after we get our money stacked up, we're gonna move out to Seattle. That's where
Whoa,
all the
Seattle.
animation companies I love are out there. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm heading up north. It's gonna be fantastic. Turns out things are a little more expensive than I thought. So
Ooh. How expensive are we talking? Like, was Seattle just like crazy
um
expensive?
it is a very expensive city to live in.
Ooh.
You could live outside of it, but all the applications I were putting in were getting, dodged and ignored. Um, finding housing and things like that. Rent was just for me by myself, would just be like what I think the cheapest one I found was like $1,200, $1,500 a month for like a
Whoa.
studio, things like that. I didn't really figure out a lot of the logistics of it. I just wanted to do it. So whenever, I actually got into working and, saving up a little bit of money, I was just like, well, maybe I'll push that back a little bit. I'm not canceling it.
Yeah.
Never cancel that dream. I don't care if I'm 95, I'm gonna make it one of these days. But definitely got pushed back a little bit. But now I figured I'd stay at home, try to build up a portfolio for animation, figure some stuff out from there. I'm very much a play it by ear kind of guy.
Right on. So you're mapping out in your mind the future, how it might look like. You weighed your options financially. How did you learn about this recruiter position at Eastern? Because to me, and folks on the outside would say, hey, you went from animator to now recruiter. That's a leap.
Technically, I'm still using my degree. So
yeah, that's so
yeah,
true.
no.
Yeah. That's so true.
So technically my degree did come in handy, but from recruiter or from animator to recruiter was basically I was just kind of trying to save up some money. I had a job in my hometown I really didn't like. I was working overnights. It was draining my soul away.
Yeah.
The people I worked with weren't the best. I said, I need something different. I need a switch up or I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Through my, shot my shot at a lot of different places. And then I saw the Eastern had put up a posting for a recruiter position. And I was just like, oh, I can talk endlessly about Eastern. I know a lot about Eastern.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to travel. I like to, I can work good with a small group of people, things like that. So I put in my application and everything. My current boss, he hit me up and he was just like, hey, good for an interview? Sure.
Yeah.
Worst interview I've ever given in my whole life.
No way. Like, were you answering things wrong, or do you just feel like you just not performed at the level you thought you would?
So the interview was like at 3 p.m, I believe.
Oh man, that's like toward the end of the day.
Yeah. Since I was working overnight, that was like 3 a.m. for me.
Oh.
So I got up out of my bed, threw on a nice shirt. We're doing a Zoom meeting. You can see me from here to here, had my pajamas on.
Yeah.
And I just pulled up and I was just like, oh, hey, how's it going? And everyone was it felt like they were all like mad dogging me.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, man. And every answer I gave, I was just like, well, and so after everything was said and done, they were just like, all right, cool. we'll let you know. And I was like,
Yeah.
yep, I am staying here at Walmart. So
in your mind, that was like you completely bombed the interview, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm
I
staying in Walmart for a
immediately
bit."
went and laid back down. So
Oh,
I was like, yeah, that
oh
was terrible. I
no.
was telling everyone at work, I was like, yeah, I botched it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But got the call back. He was just like, hey, second interview. We want to know, what you can bring, so make up a little presentation for us. Bring it down, present. We'll see where we can go from there.
Okay.
And so I got into it and made my presentation, went up, presented and everything. Tried to be as much as myself as I could be. I didn't want to put on a facade for anybody. So, it was a lot of joking back and forth and things like that. And so
That must have felt
after
good
that,
though. Like it felt like you were establishing chemistry if you were able to joke back and forth with some of the committee members.
it's like they can tell I was nervous and everything. So, when I'm nervous, I'm just gonna start shooting off jokes. And then and then they got into the actual presentation. I did everything. And then they started asking questions, and I was just like, remember 2017, 2018, anytime before that, about Eastern. And I gave the best answers I could. And I was just like, all right, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I got in my car and I was like, yep, I'm staying at Walmart.
So you were still convinced, like after round 2, you were like, yeah.
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 And then I waited a couple, I think a week or two, and they called me back. Like, hey, I'd like to offer you the job. This is what we're starting at. How do you feel about that? Absolutely, please. Like, are
Jumped
you
right
all right
into
with
it.
travel? A lot of travel going on. I was just like, I will do anything. He's like, all right, well, orientation this day. We'll see you then.
Wow.
And so, from there, it's just been up and up from there. It's been a great time. All my coworkers that I thought hated me during that interview, they actually were super nice.
Did they say anything about that? Like now that you're hired, they were like, we were just analyzing you. Like they were trying to keep a straight face or something.
So one of them, she was just like, that's just how my face is. I'm sorry. Like I was like trying to pay attention, and then the other he's my former boss at this point, one of the assistant directors. He was just like, oh yeah, dog, we're just like just going through it. We're listening to you and everything. We weren't really making any harsh judgments or anything.
They've had a long day, I bet.
Probably. So, I got into my head a bit on that.
Yeah.
So, after that, like I said, I've been here for a year and a half. It's great. One of my favorite things to do.
It sounds like you're enjoying the job. It looks like you're also enjoying it. When you do post on social media, I do see some of the like the exciting things that you're doing. When you set up for presentations or for recruiting, which I think is amazing. What are some highlights of this job? What do you really enjoy doing with it?
My favorite part of this job, of course, traveling. I love, 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 love traveling. Get to see new places, get to eat new foods and things like that. Go to El Paso, go to Lubbock. Two of my favorite places to be at. But other than that, being able to see someone on that next step of their lives, being able to assist them in any kind of way I can, inspire them maybe, that takes the cake for me. Because every time I go up there for my presentation, there's some kids not paying attention, but then you'll catch a glimpse of that whoa moment.
Yeah.
Whenever you say something in like someone's eyes, and it's just like, if it's not here at Eastern, it's gonna be somewhere else, and you're gonna do great.
Yeah.
And that's all I want.
That's awesome.
It's really fulfilling. I just recently gave tours and presentations to 2 Upward Bounds, and then last year I gave a presentation to our Upward Bound, and our their coordinator is one of ours. So
absolutely. Oh yeah,
from our Upward Bound program. Yeah. So that was super cool to see. So I was just like, man, everything just comes full circle eventually.
It really does. That's awesome. It's awesome, Xavier. What do you think you'll be doing 5 to 10 years from now, do you feel you're going to be still being recruiter, moving up at the ENMU ladder, or doing something else?
So I've been kind of thinking about that this past, few months to the last year. I think I'm pretty sure I want to be a animation professor. Um,
Nice.
at somewhere, hopefully Eastern. We just started an animation program, so
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm super excited for that. I'm hoping it expands and grows so we can be able to hire more teachers, and I can be one of them.
That's
I'm
awesome.
going to apply to do my master's in communication because you need a master's to be a professor. And communication is probably the best fit for me because
Hey.
I need to find a way to communicate better. So that's the way to do it, you know.
Communication is a great program, as you know. I graduated from that program, so if you
Okay,
need any
yeah.
pointers, let me know.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be in your inbox all day.
But it is an awesome program. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll love it. So that's awesome. I'm so glad that you're in communication. That's awesome. And good best of luck on the being an animation professor. I think that you have the qualifications, the experience, and the absolutely everything. You're the package that they need to continue helping that animation program grow.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah, you're very welcome. If you had trio professionals in one room, what advice would you give them?
Um, that is a very hard one. I thought about this pretty a long time, and I was just like, man, I had the honor of interacting with a few different trio programs, and every one interacted with has been amazing, fantastic. All of their students seem to be, you know, eager and engaging with the content that they're consuming. They've always had resources for everyone and everything. So I was just like, it's hard to it's hard to give notes on something that I find is perfect.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if I had to give one thing, I would just say one of my biggest things: just be real with your students. Make sure they're aware of all the scary things about the college level, because there are some scary things that are going to come up. They'll appreciate it when the time comes because no one likes being jump scared. It will help them in the long run, if
absolutely.
even if it sounds scary.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay, I'm going to flip the tables a little bit. What advice do you have for trio students that are pre-college, in college, or thinking about going to college?
Um, Basic advice for all that I give all of my students: keep pushing forward. It's real basic. Like I said, any progress is good progress. But as long as you keep pushing forward, you can get through pretty much anything. Like you just don't stop, essentially. But for specifically my nerds, I always say be the person that Spider-Man knows you can be,
That's awesome.
because
I
he's
love that.
he's the greatest hero. And if he was here right now with us, he'd be like, hey, you need to lock in right now.
Yes.
I know you can do this.
I love that.
So it's just basic information. It's nothing like groundbreaking or anything, but it's something I wish I would have heard back then.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
times are going to get rough. Just keep pushing forward.
Absolutely. What is something that you're reading, watching, or listening to?
My favorite question. So right now I am reading / listening to the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. Fantastic series. I love it so
Yeah.
much. They're long though. Like the shortest one is about 99 chapters.
Whoa.
So yeah, I'm on the 4th book right now, The Blood Mirror. That's what it's called. But it's a really good series. It's fantasy, of course. I love fantasy, magic, swords, things like that. Um, it just has a lot of nuance and a lot of feel to it. That author really loves bringing that world to life. You can tell he's very passionate about it. I even listened to his post, like the after,
Mhm.
where he's just talking about his thanks and everything. He makes it real funny. He's like, first, my wife, every time. Thank you for putting up with this. So yeah, no, it's a fantastic series. If you would like to get into it, please do. It's great. But watching right now, I am watching anime Frieren Beyond Journey's End. That one's very, very good. It's not. It's also fantasy, but it's not like your super high action shonen kind of anime.
Like not DBZ or like
Yeah,
Naruto. It's something else.
it's not like they're throwing hands of all the time. The fights are in there, but they're kind of a side thing. Most of this
interesting.
story called Beyond Journey's End because it takes place after the hero's main quest. So
Interesting.
after they get done with their quest and everything, they're just like, all right, we're settling down. We're done with everything we wanted to do. What are you gonna do, Frieren? She's like, that took no time at all. 10 years. I'm an elf. Time doesn't matter for me. And the whole story is just about Frieren learning that, even though you may live for a long time and you may think people, that you meet are insignificant, there are some people that will come into your life and it change that worldview completely.
Oh, 100%.
Wow. From then on in that show, no spoilers or anything, but she keeps time by when her friend died. So that's how she keeps time from then on.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very, very good emotional story. A lot of good characters, a lot of good animation, a lot of good music. Should have won anime of the year, but Solo Leveling has more fans.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
All right, Xavier, using only one word, describe yourself.
I would say fun. That short and simple. I try to make every experience as fun as it can be for me and everyone around me. I want everyone to have a good time, essentially.
That's wonderful. Xavier Travon Lewis, thank you so much for being on the Let's Talk Trio podcast. It was great talking to you about your experience in Trio and discussing your current career. I am super proud and very proud of everything that you've been doing, being involved as you are as a recruiter and still just like looking for the next thing, which is just, man, you've grown phenomenally and I'm very proud of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for everything you've done and you continue to do. Every time I see you post about something, every time I see you upload, portion of this podcast, I'm just like, man, that guy's on the move. And he's still going too. So, we get a lot of our inspiration. I say me and a lot of my friends still get a lot of our inspiration from stuff that you do.
I appreciate
it. Really gets us going,
I appreciate it. And you guys are the reason we do this, and you're awesome and amazing, and you do continue to do wonderful things. I just right off the cuff, I was thinking if we were to start our own podcast with entertainment and other things that we want to talk about, I'm always open.
Don't say that one. Don't say that. Because I've been trying to get a little bit into content creation. Do not say that.
I'm gonna enable you. What can I say? I'll be the enabler. I'll help you. I'll get started.
I've been thinking about it because I can yap about any of my favorite things. So we might have to look into that. We might have to absolutely try to check that out. See what we can do.
You heard it here, Trio Nation. Possibility of a podcast coming soon for those who love anime, comic books, and entertainment in general, movies. So possibly we'll see. We'll talk about it, Xavier, for sure.
We'll figure it out.
Absolutely, we'll coordinate it. Again, thank you so much, Xavier, for sharing your story, your Trio journey. So we have a tradition on the Let's Talk Trio podcast where we have the guests sign off. We are at the end of this podcast. Do you care to do the honors?
Whew. All right. Hi, this is Xavier Lewis, and I am an alum from Eastern New Mexico University Trio Upper Bound program and a graduate from New Mexico State University. I currently serve as a recruiter for ENMU. Trio works.
Are you a participant, alum, or staff of a Trio program? Do you want your program highlighted? You or your program could be featured in an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Trio. Get a hold of us by going to our Facebook page or Instagram and send us a direct message. Search for Let's Talk Trio. We want to get your story to the public.
You just heard from our guest, Xavier Travon Lewis, Trio Upward Bound alum. Thank you, Xavier, for being on the podcast and for sharing your Trio journey. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Our heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters, Angelica Villalpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Rosario O'Reilly, Felicia Rivera, Eric Lamaster, Jeff Calden, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, TrioJoblist.com, Nosotros Education Center, Longsdale Publishing, Student Access, and The Trio Store, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for Trio graduation stoles. Thank you all so much for your support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Contact us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast business PayPal account. Our business handle is @Let's Talk Trio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. Be sure to follow the Let's Talk Trio podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This episode was recorded Friday, June 20th, 2025. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.